This is designer Lynn Ghahary with a new Create Today video sponsored by Scrapbook and Cards Today magazine. For today's layout, I'll be using products available through Stampin' Up. You can see here some of the products that I'll be using. These can all be found in the Pinwheels on Parade Simply Scrappin' Kit. There's several different pattern papers as well as sticker sheets. The kit also comes with several different colors of solid cardstock, and I'll also be using this Whisper White cardstock to do some stamping. Here's a look at some of the ink colors that I'll be using, as well as Versamark to do some embossing. And finally, I'll be using the You're Amazing stamp set, as well as some framelits by Sizzix, and some designer buttons and brads. So let's get started. The first thing I'm going to do is use the Midnight Muse stamping ink and this circle stamp to create a background on my cardstock base. This particular stamp is from Stampin' Up, but it's from an older retired stamp set. But you can find similar stamps like this in the current catalog. So I'm just going to randomly stamp this circle on the top and bottom portions of my cardstock. I'm not going to bother doing it in the middle because I'm going to be placing a piece of patterned paper there. This is a great way to incorporate stamping onto a layout, is just by having some stamping on one of your background pieces to add a little bit more detail to the cardstock that you're using. Now that I've finished stamping on the base cardstock, we're going to go ahead and start building the main layers of our layout. I've cut a piece of this diamond patterned paper to 12 inches wide by 7 inches tall. I probably could have cut it a little bit shorter. As you'll see later on, I end up layering a part of my border over it. So if you're following along at home, you might want to cut it a little bit shorter, maybe about 6.5 inches. I'm incorporating some craft cardstock on my layout. The craft cardstock is not from Stampin' Up, but I wanted to add a neutral to this palette, and I thought the craft worked nicely and also works very nicely with the photo that I'll be using. I've used a notebook edge punch along that craft cardstock piece, and now I'm simply adding to my border by layering several of the border stickers that are available in the Simply Scrappin' Kit. You can see that I started with the red polka dot border sticker, and then I went ahead and layered on top of that a diagonal stripe border sticker as well. I'm going to adhere the diamond stripe pattern paper directly above that border. If you're following along at home, there's about 1 inch of the navy cardstock showing at the bottom of the layout. Now moving along towards the top of the layout, I was trying to figure out exactly where I wanted to place this second craft border. I decided that I wanted to have more of the navy cardstock showing at the top of the layout. So you'll see here I'm giving it a little bit of a measurement, and I'm using my ruler to make sure it's straight. There's about 2 3/4 inches of the navy cardstock showing at the top of the layout. So now what I did to the bottom of the layout, I'm going to go ahead and do the same to the top. I'm going to layer that red polka dot border sticker as well as the diagonal stripe sticker. And just a note, for placement of the diagonal stripe sticker, I'm actually using the polka dots on that red border sticker to help me keep that that diagonal stripe sticker straight. So I always will use the patterns in the papers that I'm using to help me when I'm lining things up. Now you can see there's a tiny bit of overhang of that craft cardstock. So I'm just going to come in here with my craft knife and I will trim that off. I'm using a very sharp blade, so it's very easy for me to just give that a little trim and get rid of it. Now I'm just going to take my fingernails and I'm going to fluff up the border a little bit for a little dimension. I apologize, I matted my photo that I was using with that craft cardstock, but I did not capture that on camera, so I apologize for that. But you can see now that I'm just taking a black journaling pen and I'm going around the outer edge of my photo and putting in some faux stitching. I really like to use the faux stitching. It adds a lot of detail to my projects and it helps to draw attention to the photo. And again, if you're following along at home, the photo was printed on a 5x7 piece of photo paper, but that includes the white border, so you'll want to size your photo accordingly. Now I'm going to be using an older Stampin' Up! Punch that creates photo corners, and I'm just punching several photo corners out of the Riding Hood Red cardstock and using dimensional adhesive to adhere them to each of the corners of my photo. Again, this is just another way that I can help bring attention to the main attraction of my layout, which is this fun picture of my two boys. For my title, we're going to be using the You're Amazing stamp from the You're Amazing stamp set. And I'm using some Whisper White cardstock. The ink color that I'm using is Riding Hood Red, so it coordinates with all of the patterned papers and cardstock that I've been using. I'm just going to give this a really good coat of ink, and I'm just going to place it here on my paper. It doesn't matter where because we're going to be using the framelits from Sizzix to cut this out. I'm going to quickly just give this a little bit of a wipe with a baby wipe because we're going to be using this stamp set a second time for another portion of our title. Here is the framelit that we're going to be using. This is from the Apothecary Accents set. And I'm just going to position this right here and use a Post-it to hold it in place. I'm going to place it on my cutting mat and then I'm going to run it through my manual die cut machine. Once I've run that through my die cut machine, I'm simply just going to pop out the title. You can see that the Post-it note made sure that nothing shifted in the process, and the stickiness of the Post-it does not affect my stamp image. We're going to be using that same stamp, and right now you can see I have some Scotch tape, and the only thing that I want to use for this second part is the word amazing. So I am covering all the other portions of this particular stamp with Scotch tape. That way when I use the Versamark ink pad, the only thing that the ink will stick to is the amazing. I'm just going to grab my cardstock that I'm using, again the Whisper White cardstock. I'm running the embossing buddy over it since we're going to be doing some embossing. I'm making sure that the amazing is getting as much Versamark ink as I can, and now I'll simply just peel the Scotch tape away. I'm giving the stamp a really good firm press. And we'll be using white embossing powder. I keep mine in a little tub with a spoon so it's really easy cleanup. I give it a little flick, and if there's any spots where there's embossing powder that has stuck, you can simply use a dry paintbrush to remove the embossing powder. I've embossed my image with the heat gun, and now I'm going to come in here with the Midnight Muse stamping ink. And I'm using a sponge and I'm just tapping away on top of the stamped image. And the only thing that the ink is sticking to is the paper. It will not cling to the embossing. I'll just take a tissue and rub it away, and you can see how the amazing really pops against that navy. I'll just do it a little bit more, make sure I have good coverage. I've gone ahead and trimmed out the Amazing into a banner shape. And now we're going to be layering this on top of the already stamped Your Amazing title. Before we do that, I want to add a few buttons. These are the Regal's designer buttons. I've picked out 2 of the yellow buttons, and I'm just poking some holes, and I'll be securing them to this amazing banner strip with some twine. Once I have the button secured and the twine trimmed, I'll add some dimensional adhesive to the back of this strip, and I'll adhere it to the overall Your Amazing title image. Now if we take a look at our layout again, I'm going to place the title up here in the upper left corner. Before I do that, I've trimmed some long banner shapes from several of the patterned papers included in the Simply Scrappin' kit. And I'm going to overlap them and have them come from the bottom of the Your Amazing title. So I'm just getting my placement and just kind of fluffing up the ends a little bit. I also have several of the border stickers, and I'm going to trim those and add those to my banners as well. I'm just going to eyeball here where I want them. And instead of trimming the bottoms in a banner shape, I've just simply cut them at a diagonal. Once I have all of the stickers placed, I'm going to come in here and use some dimensional adhesive to adhere the Your Amazing title to my layout. And for a little more detail, I decided to come in here with my black journaling pen again and add some faux stitching. For this next part, I'm using a grid card. This is not from Stampin' Up. It's something that I had in my own scrapbook stash. And I'm going to be using a Stamp-A-Majig. This is an older Stampin' Up stamp that I'm using. It is a definition stamp. And I want to make sure that I get the placement right on my grid card, since my grid card does have lines. So I'm using the Stamp-A-Majig so that I can then make sure that when I place it on the grid card, I have it lined up exactly where I want it. I'll place the Stamp-A-Majig again on that grid card, pull away the plastic sheet. I'll ink up my stamp and then I'll stamp again, and you'll see that it will be exactly where I wanted it to be. The Stamp-A-Majig is a really great tool. It's perfect when you're doing two-step Stampin', or you want to make sure that your stamp is placed exactly in a specific location. Now that I have my grid card created, I'm going to go ahead and just trim off the bottom because I want to tuck it behind this craft notebook border that we created earlier. And you'll see I'm just kind of eyeballing and seeing exactly where I want it to lie. I'll go ahead and add some adhesive and place it down. And now I'm going to use these really fun pinwheel stickers and create a dimensional pinwheel on my layout. Initially, I had used a powder tool to get rid of some of the stick on this particular pinwheel, but then I realized that the dimensional adhesive that I was using would fit nicely under the pinwheel, and I wouldn't have to worry about it showing. I'm going to add a smaller pinwheel to the center, and again, I'm using dimensional adhesive. The dimensional adhesive is going to show a little bit, but that's okay because I'm using this smaller red circle right in the center. I quickly wanted to show you how I add computer journaling to a sticker. I cut this sticker from the sticker sheet, and now I printed my boys' names and the date, and you can see that you can see through the back of the sticker, so that it's easy to place the sticker exactly where I want it. I'm going to add some adhesive, and I can see through and again place the sticker exactly where I want it. I'm going to go ahead and replace the sticker. I'll go ahead and run this through my computer again, and you'll see the printed journaling right there. It's a really easy way to add computer journaling to stickers in your stash. I wanted to create a little embellishment here at the bottom center of my photo where we're going to place that sticker that we just printed on. So I am using this banner sticker. I poked 2 holes, one on either end, and I'm adding some coordinating brads, and I apologize, I pulled that out of the camera frame. And I'm doing it a little backwards. I'm going to be snipping this sticker in the middle, you'll see later on, so that I can create a layered banner sticker. The prongs of the brads were a little bit longer than I wanted them to be, and they were showing a little bit, so I simply took a scissor and snipped them. It was very easy to do, and I'm just using a Stampin' Up! Scissor to do that. And I apologize again, that is not in focus there. So now I'm going to snip this in the middle, and then I'm going to use this to build an embellishment here at the bottom of my photo. And I want to make sure that this is in the center of my photo, so I'm going to use my trusty ruler to make sure that I am leaving about 1 inch on either side of that yellow banner. And then I'll just simply press it down since the sticker is still sticky. And then I'll go ahead and use dimensional adhesive on the printed sticker with my boys' names. Layering stickers and altering stickers is a great way to really get good mileage out of the products that you have. After taking a good look at my layout, I decided I wanted to create another one of those journaling cards. So I'm layering some of these great banner stickers up at the top there. And I want it to lie kind of at an angle to the journaling card that is already there. So I'm just kind of eyeballing it, and I'm trying to decide, do I want it to pop up above it or below it? That's a little too close, so I'm just going to keep trimming. And I decide I like the way that looks, and I like the pop of that red color that it gives. And now I want to go ahead and add more of those pinwheel stickers. So I'm going to go ahead and do exactly what I did the last time. I'm going to add dimensional adhesive and build a layered pinwheel embellishment. And you'll also note that I added a little metal paper clip to the journaling card with the definition on it, just for a little bit more detail. And here's a look at the completed layout and a few detail images. I hope that you enjoyed today's Create Today video. For For more information about Scrapbook and Cards Today magazine, please be sure to visit our website at www.scrapbookandcards.com.